The film begins with our main character, Keith, who works a regular job during the day and creates videos for his YouTube channel and blogs on the internet in the evening. Related to the stock market, he claims in his videos and blogs that the shares of a company named GameStop will rise, which is currently in a very bad state. GameStop was basically a company that sold computers, their parts, and games. They used to have branches in almost every city, every mall. But because people started ordering all this online, GameStop's value and shares had significantly dropped. Financial experts also believed that GameStop was soon going to sink. That's why they started shorting GameStop's shares, meaning big investors borrow shares from their shareholders of a sinking company and sell them, and due to more shares being sold, when the value of the shares goes down, they buy the same shares at cheaper prices and return them to the shareholders. By selling shares at high prices and buying the same shares at much cheaper prices, these people make a profit. And secondly, if a company in bad condition goes even closer to sinking, you could say it goes bankrupt and another company gets a chance to rise in its place. This whole method is called shorting shares. Now, big investors were planning to do the same with GameStop, whose shares were going down. They start selling borrowed shares. But Keith still believed that the shares would go up because he had seen that many changes were happening under GameStop's leadership. A very big and wealthy businessman had taken a significant percentage of equity in GameStop, which was going to benefit GameStop a lot. Keith was keeping an eye on these things. That's why he tells his viewers that GameStop is not as bad a company as people think. People don't even know its real value. He also tells his viewers that he thinks the big investors who have shorted GameStop's shares are going to suffer a huge loss, because as soon as the price of GameStop's shares goes up, all the short sellers will be hit hard and will incur a big loss. Seeing this, Keith has invested all his and his wife's life savings in buying GameStop shares. He even bought GameStop options, which were quite risky, because if there was a loss, all his life savings would be gone. But if there was a profit, it would be in millions. Whatever investments he made, the analysis he did daily, the charts he read daily, he shared in his blogs and showed all that in live streams as well. He shares the first screenshot and we find out that he had invested over 53,000 Indian rupees in GameStop. It turns out that his wife was a bit tense about this because she felt that Keith was putting all their savings into a sinking company and their situation could worsen. But despite all this, she still supports Keith. We find out that Keith's younger brother, whose financial condition wasn't that good either, and who also did small blogging on YouTube, had also invested in GameStop on Keith's advice to improve his situation. The scene cuts to a very rich man, Gabe Plotkin. Gabe has a very large investment company. He takes money from big people and invests it in different businesses and returns the profit to those big people. Gabe's company had done the most short sharing of GameStop because, unlike Keith, he was most convinced that GameStop would completely sink. When he finds out that a man like Keith has invested a huge amount in GameStop, he thinks Keith is a fool. After this, we are shown another very wealthy man besides Gabe who owns a marketing company, and his company also does hedge funding like Gabe's company. And after that, we are shown Steven, who is the biggest mafia in the market. About 72% of the market is in his hands, and he thinks the market runs according to him. However, it is told that COVID was going on at this time. Everyone was struggling with a financial crisis, but even at this time, these three businesses were making good profit. On the other side of the big millionaires, we are also shown small investors. We first meet a nurse who is a single mom. During COVID, there is no threat to her job. She is doing her job, but her job only runs her household. She has to pay her home loan, for which she hasn't found any way yet. If she doesn't pay back her home loan, her house will be taken away from her. Now, because she also needed money and she also watched Keith's videos, she thinks this is a good opportunity to follow Keith and make money and pay off her loan. So she invests in GameStop in exactly the same way as Keith. After this, we are shown an employee of GameStop. He works at a GameStop shop, but because not many customers come here, he can't make many sales, so that's why he gets a lot of scolding from his boss. He wants to get rid of this job, but he can't leave it until he has some extra money. He also knew quite a bit about the stock market. When he sees that the ownership of GameStop is changing and things are shifting, he starts following Keith and taking advantage of Keith's analysis and shares. He also invests in GameStop. He didn't just want to make money from this, but he wanted to fight against the system created by big market players who artificially dropped anyone's stocks through short selling. Those big players would profit, but small investors would suffer. On the other hand, we see two students who are roommates and both have student loans. She also wants to pay off her student loan and watches Keith's videos along with them. They also feel that this is the way they can pay off their loan, so both of them invest in GameStop. All these people were using an application called Robinhood to invest their money in GameStop shares. Because Robinhood was not complex at all, and they only took profit from people's actual investments as no money was deducted. That's why they found it better to use Robinhood. We are also shown an interview with Robinhood's co-founders. When everyone asks them why their application became a hit, they give this reason. The interviewer is surprised to hear their business model and asks if anyone else funds your company. The one co-founder accidentally mentions Ken's company, but the other co-founder interrupts him and insists that they run the company independently. Anyway, we are shown some people again who have invested in GameStop trusting Keith's analysis. Everyone's lives were completely different, but all these people were now connected to Keith for his analysis. If Keith lost here, all the people who trusted him would lose too. Keith used to share daily analysis and updates. We see quite a few people connected to a website where basically everyone talks about financial matters, but in a meme style. Keith notices that most of the people here are still very angry about an incident in 2008 where banks and big investors crashed the market. All those people got bailed out, but the losses were suffered by the small investors. Keith reads people's minds and finds out that people believe that the entire system and market run according to big players. Many people who were investing in GameStop, trusting Keith, had the motive of taking revenge on the system. Everyone knew that big investors must have done short selling on GameStop, so everyone starts buying GameStop shares so that those doing short selling would suffer a big loss. The community where all these people used to talk was called the WSB community, and a few months later, an uproar was shown in the WSB community. There is a noise because it turns out that GameStop shares really started to rise. Keith's daily posts, people's belief in him, and investing in GameStop worked. Initially, GameStop's price was slowly going up, but there comes a time when GameStop's price suddenly shoots up. The share that was $1 or $2 before suddenly reaches $50. Before big investors like Gabe, who had done short selling, could take any action, they see that the next day the same share had become $100. It is shown that Keith's investment of $53,000 quickly turned into hundreds of thousands of dollars and then into millions of dollars. He shares screenshots of his account in his videos and blogs just like before. Everyone in the WSB community is very excited to see his progress, and more people start investing in GameStop. We are shown the same people again whom we saw earlier in the movie. The nurse, the two students, the guy who works inside GameStop. Their investments were small, but those small investments hence had now grown so much that they could pay off their debt. The guy who worked inside GameStop also gets hope that he will leave his boring job and do something good. When Gabe hears about all this potential, he still doesn't react and calls it just a temporary market excitement, saying that GameStop will soon go down again. So he starts shorting shares again, but his bad luck, the share doesn't go down. Instead, the value of the share starts increasing. Suddenly, The share goes from $100 to $200, $300, and even $400. At this point, Gabe realizes that he is going to go bankrupt because his company was now facing billions of dollars in losses. Number 1. Gabe's company experienced a share squeeze. This means that people who engage in short selling suffer significant losses if the market price of shares increases rapidly, and that's exactly what was happening with Gabe. Now, many people like Gabe, who were already short selling, start to back off and begin buying back shares. As soon as so many short sellers retreat and start buying shares, the value of GameStop shares in the market automatically increases so much that it becomes a significant event in the market. GameStop starts being talked about everywhere, in the news, on the internet, on YouTube. Now, all the short sellers wanted to buy back shares, but the WSP community members, among whom Gabe was also included, all started holding onto their shares, meaning they weren't selling their shares at all, which caused the companies to suffer even greater losses. This is how we are shown the atmosphere in Gabe's office. Gabe was about to go crazy. His company's people were going crazy. They wanted to buy shares, but no one was willing to sell them any. He couldn't understand how Ket, who was just an ordinary YouTuber, had caused his company billions of dollars in losses due to his YouTube videos and the campaign he started. When Gabe's wife feels that Gabe can't get out of this trouble, she tells him to call his friends and ask for help. To help Gabe, Ken and his other friend, who hold most of the market shares, withdraw their $200 billion investment so that Gabe's company doesn't go bankrupt. On the other hand, we are shown Robinhood's co-founder, who receives a call from the NSE to pay a very large amount because the value of shares being bought through his application had increased significantly. Robinhood had to deposit $3 billion with the NSE as a deposit. If Robinhood's founder didn't do this, the NSE could shut down his application. Now he becomes worried and says that Ken's shares are also within our company, and I'll talk to him and call you back. It is shown that Robinhood's founder had enabled the buy button for GameStop shares. Because of this, everyone couldn't buy GameStop shares, and that's why public anger increased significantly. Now people start selling shares rapidly and even protest outside Robinhood's office due to people selling more shares. Where GameStop had previously gone up to $453, it now drops to $140. This means the share value falls so much, and the reason for this was only the Robinhood application. Those who had invested their money and were waiting for it to grow suffered significant losses. People's anger increases even more. Seeing that the big hedge fund companies realized they were about to incur losses, they tried once again to crash the market by enabling Robinhood's buy button. Those who were happy before start becoming sad again. Everyone felt that Robinhood took this step because of Citron, whose owner, Ken, also had shares within Robinhood. But Robinhood's co-founder comes on the news and argues that he didn't do anything at Citron's behest. Due to the high share value, I had to give $300 billion to the NSE, and the company didn't have that much funding. That's why Robinhood had to take that step. Some people believe him, but small investors don't trust his words. Everyone felt they were deceived and that Robinhood, which claimed to be a free market, had started looting people. Here, people begin to boycott Robinhood. During all this, we see that Ket had been completely silent for quite some time. He hadn't posted any updates, nor had he accused anyone or shared his thoughts. After quite some time, he posts on his blogging website and uploads a video on YouTube in which he explains that as soon as GameStop shares went down, he bought more shares at that time because he still believed in GameStop going up. Once again, Ket becomes a topic of discussion in the WCP, and more people start following Ket. Because of Ket's action, people's trust in him increases even more. People understand that Ket doesn't follow market principles. If he didn't sell his shares despite seeing losses, he thought about everyone, including small investors. In this way, Ket becomes a hero in the investment market. Ket did not know that his post would escalate the matter so much. GameStop shares start rising again, and many people begin to incur losses. The matter becomes so big that it reaches the court. A committee is set up there, which includes judges and some financial experts who now try to understand the entire fundamentals of GameStop. Within this committee, Kit is also invited, along with Robinhood's co-founder, as well as Gabe and Ken. This entire meeting is broadcast live on TV. We see Kit participating in this meeting online from his home's basement. The inquiry team asks him numerous questions. He calmly answers all the questions, stating that he hasn't done anything wrong. I only shared my analysis on the internet and YouTube because I had a lot of faith in GameStop's fundamentals. He also says that he is not a hedge fund. He is just an ordinary person who was investing for himself. When the team questions Gabe, he admits that his mistake was underestimating GameStop's shares significantly. However, when asked about short selling, he starts defending it, saying that short selling doesn't harm many people. It's just a model for doing business. Now we see Ken being asked many questions as well. Regarding GameStop, he states that he has no connection with GameStop and hasn't invested in it. He did invest in Robinhood, but he didn't pressure Robinhood to enable the GameStop buying button. When Robinhood's co-founder is spoken to, he also explains that the buying button was enabled because the NSC asked for a large sum, which his company's security funds couldn't cover. After the team's hearing, the decision wasn't disclosed because the investigation was still ongoing, but at least it became clear to people that Citadel and Robinhood weren't at fault. Despite this, Robinhood received very negative publicity, and we secretly learned that Ken and his friends held 733% of the market shares. Their company benefited greatly from GameStop because they had secretly invested in it. Gabe's company suffered such a huge loss that it went bankrupt, losing billions of dollars. Meanwhile, Kit was still under investigation to determine if he was a hedge fund whose small step caused such a big uproar in the market. After that day, we see that Kit didn't upload any videos on YouTube for quite some time and didn't go live either. However, we are shown that despite this, Kit made millions of dollars in profit from GameStop. All the small investors who believed in Kit and invested in GameStop did not go bankrupt. Although they didn't become rich, they managed to overcome their difficulties. They still face minor challenges for which they are fighting. We are shown the boy who initially wanted to leave the GameStop shop, made enough money to finally quit his job and decided to do something new in his life. In the movie's post-credit scene, we are told that Kit did his last live stream on April 16th, 2021 at 4 p.m. and hasn't gone live since. Here, we also learned that this entire film is based on a true story. The last screenshot Kit shared showed his net worth at $29 million. After that, he didn't participate in this campaign at all. But the campaign he started is still active today, and people continue to follow his investment methods. People are already investigating which companies hedge funds are trying to short sell. The WCP community members come together and start investing in shares to counter the hedge fund's impact on small investors.
को नुकसान ना हो और बस यही सब बताते हुए ये मूवी यहाँ खत्म हो जाती है।